The bright moon shines amidst sparse stars, as all sounds of the myriad creatures fall into profound silence. The ancient tombs of Kṣitigarbha Temple tower high, and in the night, only a single clear lamp within the great hero's hall shines like a compassionate light illuminating the silence. Inside the hall, an elderly monk sat cross-legged on a meditation cushion, his eyes gently closed. Suddenly, a series of hurried footsteps broke the silence of the night, followed immediately by urgent knocking on the door. Amitabha Buddha's visit in the deep of night surely signifies an important matter. As they proceeded, the old monk's voice was gentle yet penetrating. As the shop door opened, a disheveled middle-aged man with a haggard face appeared and entered. His eyes were red and swollen, his hair and beard disheveled, clearly having not rested for several days. "Help me, venerable monk, please save my father." As soon as the middle-aged man entered, he knelt down on the ground and pleaded, "Venerable monk." The old monk gazed at the visitor and said, "Devotee, there is no need for such reverence. Please rise and speak. I am a humble monk with the Dharma name, Kṣitigarbha. May I respectfully ask the benefactor's honorable surname and full name? I am Lin Yushan, son of the Lin family, merchants of the southern city prefecture. 3 days ago, my father suddenly passed away. I have heard that at the Seventh Patriarch Temple, there is a master Kṣitigarbha who is well-versed in the path of life and death, and I have come to seek his guidance." Monk Kṣitigarbha helped Lin Yushan to rise and said, "Please, benefactor, have a seat," then proceeded to explain in detail. Lin Yushan reluctantly sat down, her hands trembling. Her father had spent his life practicing kindness and accumulating merit. Yet he suddenly passed away, and even the best physicians in the city could not determine the cause of his death. Even stranger, after the father's passing, the household was plagued by unusual phenomena: bells ringing at midnight, candles igniting on their own, and ancient trees breaking without any wind. Last night was even more peculiar. Everyone in the household dreamt of their father clad in simple robes, standing by the edge of a pitch-dark river, with mist swirling on the opposite shore. The father kept saying, "Save me," in the dream, but could not say where he was. "Venerable Master, our family has practiced Buddhism for generations and understands that the first 7 days after a person's death are very important, but we have limited knowledge about the specific rituals to perform during this period. The 7th day after my father's passing is in 4 days, I fear." Priest Kṣitigarbha pondered for a moment, then walked to the bookshelf in the corner of the Buddha hall and took out a dust-covered sutra. "Master Sure, have you ever heard of the Sutra of the Original Vows of Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva?" Lin Yushan shook her head, knowing only that Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva is the lord of the underworld, primarily responsible for guiding the deceased, but she was unaware of the details. This sutra records Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva's great vow that hell shall not remain empty until all beings are saved, as well as various methods for guiding the deceased. Monk Kṣitigarbha opened the sutra and said, "I have a general understanding of your father's situation. Is it true?" At that moment, the father, facing death, asked urgently. Monk Kṣitigarbha wore a solemn expression. "Your father's consciousness is currently in the bardo state, lost within the realm of the afterlife. According to your description, he may be trapped by a certain karmic force, unable to smoothly proceed to the Pure Land." Lin Yushan's face turned pale. What should be done? The old monk calmly reassured him that the intermediate state lasts for 49 days, divided into 7 cycles of 7 days each. The first 7 days are the most crucial, commonly referred to as the head 7. These 7 days are crucial for the deceased. A slight negligence may lead to downfall. Suddenly, a strange wind swept outside the shop, causing the curtains to rustle. Inside, the candle flames flickered, and the shadow of the Buddha statue on the wall shifted in size, growing larger and smaller intermittently. The monk Kṣitigarbha chanted a passage from the sutras, and the shop instantly regained its tranquility. "The vision just now confirmed my judgment. Your father's consciousness indeed encountered an obstacle. Master, please kindly enlighten me. What exactly has happened? Where's my father now? Will he suffer? Lin Yushan's voice was choked with emotion. The venerable monk pondered deeply, realizing that after death, the consciousness enters a special state known as the bardo. This place is neither the human realm nor the underworld, but rather a transitional realm. Here, the deceased gradually become aware that they have died and must face the manifestation of various karmas from their past life. The first 7 days, known as the initial 7, mark the period when the king's consciousness is most chaotic, yet his sensitivity to the external world is at its peak. At this moment, they will witness many phenomena that ordinary people cannot see and undergo numerous indescribable experiences. Lin Yushan asked, "What kind of sights and experiences are these?" On the first day, the ruler would feel extreme confusion, not understanding why family members cannot see or hear him. They linger in the places most familiar to them during their lifetime, attempting to communicate with their loved ones, but receive no response. By the third day, most kings gradually become aware that they have departed from a human world, at which time great fear and unease arise. A muffled thunder suddenly rumbled from afar, causing Lin Yushan to startle and jump up. Although today is clearly a sunny day, Venerable Zhijing's expression remains unchanged. There are occasional connections between the realm of the dead and the human world. Your father's consciousness is struggling, attempting to convey some kind of message. What information? What does my father want to tell me? This required further investigation. The old monk walked to the center of the Buddha hall, deeply bowing before the statue of Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva. Then he took out a piece of yellow paper, inscribed a talisman with cinnabar, reciting incantations silently. He then set the talisman paper ablaze, reducing it to ashes. Layman Lin, I have just requested Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva to kindly intervene and investigate the condition of your honored father. I see that he is trapped in a place called the River of Oblivion and is unable to cross the river. This is the place that the deceased must pass through, usually reached around the first 7 days after death. The Wangchuan River left Lin Yushan puzzled and bewildered. The river Wangchuan is a river in the underworld. After drinking its water, the deceased forget all their past lives before embarking on the path of rebirth. However, some deceased beings, due to the influence of karma or unresolved wishes from their previous lives, become trapped by the riverside and are unable to move forward. Lin Yushan recalled what was seen in the dream, so our entire family dreamed of our father by the riverside. Exactly, your father's strong spiritual consciousness, combined with familial bonds, allows him to communicate with you through dreams. This indicates that he still has attachments to the mortal world and unfinished business. Lin Yushan racked her brains over unfinished matters. Her father had made all arrangements properly before his death and clearly entrusted the family business. She truly could not think of any unfulfilled wishes. Venerable Zhijing closed his eyes in deep contemplation, perhaps not over mundane matters, but some deeper attachment beyond the worldly. Did your father do anything during his lifetime that caused him guilt, or are there any secrets unknown to others? Lin Yushan suddenly thought of something, and her expression changed drastically. 30 years ago, there was an old matter in the family that my father seldom mentioned. Whenever he spoke of it, his expression was filled with shame, but he never told us the specifics. The moment Master Zhijing opened his eyes, this was likely the crucial point. If the deceased still has unresolved karmic knots of the mind, they are often trapped in the bardo realm and unable to transition smoothly to rebirth or liberation. What should one do then? The Kṣitigarbha Sutra states that if a sentient being, at the time of death, hears the name of a Buddha or a Bodhisattva, or even a single phrase or verse from a Mahayana scripture, it is said that this can help the person to eliminate the 5 heinous crimes, reduce minor negative karma, and for those who have accumulated much unwholesome karma, leading to unfortunate rebirths, quickly attain liberation and be born into a favorable realm. The divine perception of a king is extremely sensitive. If one can recite the sacred name of Bodhisattva, Kṣitigarbha, and perform merit transference with relics, it may help your honorable father to be liberated from his predicament. Master, please kindly instruct me in the specific methods, Lin Yushan earnestly requests. Venerable Zhijing nodded. The method of liberating the relics is complex. Let me first teach you a few key points. First, upon returning home, set up a simple altar with a statue of Bodhisattva, Kṣitigarbha, and daily recite the Kṣitigarbha Sutra while chanting the sacred name of Bodhisattva, Kṣitigarbha. Secondly, the entire family must unite with sincere intention, avoiding superficial actions. Furthermore, one should not cease performing virtuous deeds, dedicating the merit to the deceased. Can these really help father? Lin Yushan was half in doubt. The monk Zhijing's gaze was sharp. The Kṣitigarbha Sutra records many cases of liberating deceased spirits. The mother of Ruguang Mo, despite her thousand-fold harshness in life, after death fell into a realm of suffering. The devoted daughter of Guangmu sincerely worshipped Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva, accumulating merit for her mother, ultimately enabling her mother to be freed from the ocean of suffering. Doesn't this exactly confirm the merit of the seventh-day post-death liberation ritual? Lin Yushan appeared thoughtful, acknowledging that what the master said was profoundly true. These are merely folk legends. There are many taboos associated with the seventh day after death, such as not crying excessively and not speaking ill or inauspicious words in front of the deceased. Are these beliefs true? Monk Zhijing nodded, acknowledging that it made sense. During the period when the deceased is transitioning, their mind is in a state of confusion, making them highly susceptible to the emotions of the living. If family members grieve excessively and cry out loud, even if the deceased was healthy, it can cause suffering in their mind, preventing them from departing peacefully. Therefore, the ancients said to carefully honor and remember the deceased, which is not only a restraint for the living, but also to help the departed attain a smooth rebirth. Excessive remembrance can also entangle the deceased with their past life, preventing them from letting go of worldly attachments. Therefore, it is crucial to maintain a balance between holding thoughts in the heart and embracing non-attachment. Outside the hall, the night was deepening, and moonlight filtered through the curtains, casting mottled shadows upon the floor. A prolonged chant echoed from afar, seemingly the sutra recitation of other monks within the temple. Master Zhijing glanced at the sky. The night had grown deep. We hurriedly made our way over. He approached the Buddha, took an ancient oil lamp, lit it, and handed it to Lin Yushan. This lamp was left by a venerable monk a century ago and contains the energy of the Dharma. You should return home and place it before the spirit tablet, which can help the ancestral spirits to clearly understand the path ahead. There is one more matter that requires vigilance. During the 7-day period after death, it is not only the king deity who returns to the human realm. Occasionally, other beings also take the opportunity to draw near. Others existed, and Lin Yushan was startled in her heart. The old monk slightly wiped his hands with sweat. During this period, the boundary between the underworld and the human realm was at its weakest, and some malicious spirits might impersonate the name of a king to approach loved ones. Therefore, whatever you see or hear, always remain vigilant and not become intoxicated or deluded. How to distinguish true from false? If the heart is sincere, it will be effective. True kinship involves a unique affinity that cannot be imitated by any external force. You only need to silently recite the sacred name of Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva in your heart, and you will naturally discern authenticity. Suddenly, an eerie sound of wind arose outside the hall, followed by a long, haunting howl. Neither fully human nor beast, neither entirely animal nor spirit, sending chills down one's spine. Venerable Zhijing furrowed his brows deeply and rose swiftly. It seems that your father's situation is more complicated than I had imagined. There is a certain force obstructing his path to rebirth. What power? Lin Yushan asked in terror. Temporarily difficult to determine. However, It is certain that the matter involving your father 30 years ago likely has far-reaching implications, not only affecting his rebirth, but also potentially impacting your entire family. Lin Yushan was covered in cold sweat, wondering what to do. Master Zhijing returned to his seat, his expression grave. Since that is the case, I need to tell you some deeper secrets about the true significance of the first 7 days after death, and how Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva protects the deceased during this crucial time. The venerable monk took an ancient, simple copper coin from his sleeve, gently twirling it in his palm. The coin surprisingly began to spin in midair, emitting a clear, crisp sound. Lay donors, the true meaning of offering for the sake of the deceased's liberation is far more profound than what the common people usually think. It not only concerns whether the deceased can be reborn in a good realm, but also involves a profound mystery that transcends birth and death. The copper coin spun faster and faster, eventually transforming into a beam of golden light that illuminated the entire Buddha hall. The old monk's face appeared exceptionally solemn and dignified in the midst of this extraordinary radiance. Your father is currently at a critical juncture between life and death, and his soul is trapped by a mysterious force. Do you know the astonishing transformations that the consciousness of the deceased undergoes during the intermediate state? The old monk's voice was deep and powerful, explaining that the consciousness of the deceased undergoes 3 special states: clear light, illusions, and choice. The clear light state appears at the moment of death, when the consciousness briefly contacts the primordial light of the universe. This is the optimal opportunity for liberation, but due to the pulls of karma, most ordinary beings fail to recognize this light and thus miss the chance. Lin Yushan was surprised and said, "This is somewhat similar to the Dharma nature luminosity described in the Tibetan bardo Thodol. Indeed, although various scriptures present different expressions, the underlying principles are fundamentally consistent." The second stage is the illusory phase, during which the deceased experiences various scenes from their past life flashing before them like a revolving lantern, with all virtuous thoughts and evil deeds laid bare. At this moment, the ruler is easily caught in fear and confusion. The third state is the period of decision-making. The king will see the light of the 6 realms, and due to the pull of dependent origination, will unconsciously be attracted to one of the lights. This is the crucial moment of rebirth. Lin Yushan listened intently. How does Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva assist the deceased during this process? The venerable monk's gaze is profound. Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva possesses eyes of compassion, capable of perceiving the nighttime conditions of the deceased. During the process of reincarnation, if someone sincerely recites the sacred name of Bodhisattva Kṣitigarbha or the Sutra of Kṣitigarbha, the Bodhisattva will emit radiant light to illuminate the deceased, enabling their consciousness to become temporarily clear, recognize the illusory nature of appearances, and not be deluded by karmic forces. In the Mahayana Mahaparinirvana Kṣitigarbha Sutra, it is recorded that Bodhisattva Kṣitigarbha possesses 10 types of supernatural powers, one of which is the ability to know the intentions and aspirations of all sentient beings, discerning their past and present lives. Bodhisattvas are able to know the past and present lives of sentient beings and understand the karma that influences them, thereby providing guidance at the most appropriate time. Lin Yushan appeared contemplative. Thus, the act of reincarnation dedication is essentially a request for Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva to use his supernatural powers to assist the deceased. Indeed, in the Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva Original Vow Sutra, it is stated in the first chapter of the Jingwen edition that if a person who is near death has family members, household relatives, or even righteous individuals loudly recite the name of Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva once for the dying person, this will eliminate the 5 heinous karmas and extinguish all residual karmic retributions of the deceased. This clearly demonstrates the inconceivable merit and virtue of chanting the holy name of Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva. The sound of pine waves outside the hall gradually rose, as if affirming the words of the old monk. Lin Yushan pondered for a moment and then asked, Venerable Shakyamuni, there is a folk belief that during the ghost festival, the departed return home to visit their families. Is this true? The venerable old monk slightly wiped his hands. The consciousness of a deceased indeed lingers in familiar places due to attachments. In the Kṣitigarbha Sutra, it is explained that after beings die, their consciousness initially retains the awareness and memories from their lifetime and pays attention to the words and actions of their relatives. This is why during the first 7 days after death, family members should maintain a positive mindset, engage in virtuous deeds, and dedicate the merit to the deceased. I see. So, can the deceased enjoy the food offered during the 7th-day memorial? The old monk smiled and said, since the consciousness has departed from the physical body, it naturally cannot enjoy food like ordinary people. Offering food on the altar serves a dual purpose. It expresses the living's respect and remembrance. And on the other hand, these offerings can be donated to those in need after the ritual, dedicating the merit to the deceased. This is the truly beneficial practice. Lin Yushan nodded in understanding, yet her face showed a trace of confusion. Master, I still have a question. If the 7th day after death is so important, why do people continue to observe the 14th, 21st days, and so on, up to the 49th day? The venerable old monk explained that according to scriptures, such as the Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva, the bardo body of the deceased can exist for a maximum of 49 days, divided into 7 periods of 7 days each. Every 7th day holds its special significance. The 7th day primarily corresponds to the first judgment before King Yama. The 2nd period faces King Qinguang, the 3rd period faces Emperor Song, and so on, continuing until the 7th period faces King Taishan. These 7 renowned kings each preside over different aspects of judgment, and the ruler must undergo judgment by each of them in turn. With each passing period, the king's intermediate state body undergoes a transformation, gradually adapting to the state without a physical body, and his consciousness becomes increasingly clear. Therefore, the rituals of liberation during the 7 intermediate stages are all important, and none should be neglected. However, the 7th day is indeed the most crucial, as it marks the deceased's initial stage of confronting death and is the most receptive moment for guidance. The moonlight filters through the curtains, casting mottled shadows upon the floor. Lin Yushan fell into deep contemplation and after a moment raised her head to ask, Master, you just mentioned that Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva has compassionate eyes that can perceive the karmic conditions of the deceased. So, can ordinary people sense the state of the departed in some way? The old monk shook his head and said, the ordinary person's fleshly eyes are obscured by the night, making it difficult to see the intermediate state body. However, when there is a profound karmic connection between minds, they can sometimes correspond or resonate in dreams or special states. The Kṣitigarbha Sutra records that if there are virtuous men and faithful women who sincerely offer homage to Bodhisattva Kṣitigarbha, the Bodhisattva may sometimes appear in their dreams to inform them about the situation of deceased beings. Understand. Besides reciting sutras and mantras, what other methods can help the deceased pass smoothly through the first 7 days after death? The venerable monk pondered for a moment and realized that proper guidance is essential. Before the deceased passes away, one can softly chant the sacred name of Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva beside their ear to inspire the arising of wholesome thoughts. Secondly, during the 7-day mourning period, family members should observe vegetarianism and practice chanting the Buddha's name to accumulate pure merit and virtue. Thirdly, the practice of releasing life should not be neglected, and one should encourage the deceased to perform good deeds and accumulate virtue. Fourth, invite the monastic community to chant sutras, thereby enhancing the power of transcending suffering and facilitating liberation. Most importantly, the first 7 days memorial rites are not merely ceremonial procedures, but also a profound purification of the mind. During this process, family members reflect on the life of the deceased, contemplate the impermanence of life and death, and examine their own conduct. This is the profound meaning of Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva's salvation of the departed. Lin Yushan seemed to have an insight. The Buddha's intention is that performing transcendence rituals is not only for the deceased, but also serves as a form of teaching and transformation for the living. Indeed, in the Kṣitigarbha Sutra, Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva said to the Buddha, "I observe that all beings in the world, with every thought and intention, are steeped in sin. The human heart is easy to let go but difficult to grasp, easily lost in worldly desires and gains. The moment a loved one passes away often becomes an occasion for people to reflect on the meaning of life." Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva's salvation of the deceased is, in essence, a wake-up call to the living, allowing people to recognize the fragility and preciousness of life, thereby encouraging them to actively practice virtue and purify their minds. Lin Yushan was deeply moved, pressing her palms together in Anjali Mudra. The Blessed One's teaching descended like nectar raining upon the crown, allowing me to suddenly attain clarity of mind. I will return immediately to arrange a transcendental ceremony for my late father. According to the teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha, it is not only important to act appropriately, but also to sincerely pray for the blessings of one's father. The venerable old monk looked upon Lin Yushan with deep satisfaction, saying, "Well done, well done. Remember, the essence of liberating departed souls lies in achieving accomplishment. The true meaning of Bodhisattva, Kṣitigarbha, saving the deceased, does not lie in elaborate rituals, but in awakening the compassionate and wise hearts of sentient beings." "I have one final question." Lin Yushan hesitated. "If the seventh-day memorial service for the deceased is missed, is it then too late for the liberation rites?" The old monk's eyes revealed boundless compassion. As stated in the Kṣitigarbha Sutra, Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva saves sentient beings in the 5 turbid and suffering worlds, liberating them from all sorrows. The great vows of the Bodhisattva are boundless. As long as one sincerely repents with a true heart and utmost sincerity, it is never too late at any time. However, timely liberation through transcendental practice is naturally better, just as prompt medical treatment is essential for serious illness. The principle is the same. Lin Yushan, as a devoted wife, once again deeply bowed to the venerable old monk and sincerely thanked him for guiding her through her confusion. She then vowed to return immediately to prepare for the rituals of liberation and transcendence. Monk Zhijing nodded with a gentle smile, watching Lin Yushan as she departed. Outside the hall, moonlight illuminates the water, and the pine shadows sway gently. A breeze passes by, carrying a faint sound of Buddhist chanting. It is the compassionate vow of Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva, extending throughout the 10 directions, liberating countless sentient beings. Late at night, the great bell of Kṣitigarbha Temple tolled again, echoing through the valley. The venerable old monk stood before the hall, gazing up at the starry sky, softly reciting, "If there are those who hear and understand the evil karma, and those who sincerely take refuge, may they be protected from the fire, Bodhi. Never regress on the path. Life and death are inherently part of the ceaseless cycle of samsara, yet amidst this seemingly insurmountable chasm, the compassion and wisdom of the Dharma build a bridge." The Bodhisattva Kṣitigarbha's vow to not let hell be empty is a grand undertaking essential for achieving Buddhahood. It serves as the pillar supporting this bridge. The true essence of dedicating merit for the deceased lies not only in illuminating the path ahead for sentient beings, but also in awakening the awareness of the living. Though life is brief, compassion and wisdom transcend birth and death, like an unfading lamp of the heart illuminating both shores of existence. Every separation of life and death serves as a reminder to the living. Every sincere ritual of liberation is a transmission of the wisdom of life and death. This may be the fundamental reason why Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva has moved countless sentient beings for thousands of years. He is not only the guide for the deceased, but also the awakener for the living. In the impermanent world, only great compassion can reveal the true nature of birth and death, and only awakened wisdom can transcend the bonds of samsara. Standing at the threshold of life and death, perhaps we should all reflect on how, when confronted with the impermanence of losing loved ones, we can both send off the departed and illuminate the path ahead for ourselves. The great vow of Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva offers us the best answer: to face suffering with a compassionate heart and to dispel darkness with the light of wisdom. Whether living or deceased, all can find their way home in this radiance.